Breaking right now, Thomas Markle Jr., the sister of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has lashed out at his sister and her husband, Prince Harry, in the most brutal interview he has ever given.
Long story short, all right, I do blame Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, the shit stain of humanity. Yes, Meghan, and I hope you're watching right now. I hope you're watching, Meghan, because you are the shit stain of humanity. I hope people spit in your face when they see you walking down the street.
Back in the early days of Meghan Markle's rise into royal life, most people only saw the polished interviews, the glamorous appearances, and the emotional headlines. But now, in 2026, her estranged brother Thomas Markle Jr. is speaking out again, and his latest comments are dragging the family drama right back into the spotlight. According to Thomas, the public version of Meghan and the private version are two completely different people. He claims old family memories tell a story the world never got to see. Thomas described home videos from years ago that allegedly showed Meghan laughing with their father, spending real quality time together like a tight-knit family, acting completely different from how things eventually played out.
It's really a little bit disturbing, saying that, she doesn't have a family, she doesn't have a father, and then Harry saying that she has no father now. That's just ridiculous.
So, her half-brother, Thomas Jr., has been slammed for trolling the Duchess and peddling bizarre conspiracy theories about her in a series of weird YouTube videos. Here he is. He's got pillow stuffed under his shirt there. He's wearing a terrible wig.
He believes that bonds slowly fell apart the moment fame and royal attention entered the picture, and he clearly still carries deep resentment over it. But Thomas didn't stop at family tension. He also dropped one of his strongest takes yet on Prince Harry. In his view, Harry has changed massively over the years, especially compared to the confident, carefree image people remember before he stepped away from royal duties in 2020. Thomas claimed Harry now looks drained, stressed, and disconnected. And from Thomas's perspective, Meghan played a major role in that shift. That's his personal opinion, not confirmed fact, but it instantly sparked fresh online debates. Critics and supporters have been going back and forth about Harry's transformation for years. Some believe it was non-stop media pressure that changed him. Others think his relationship rewired the direction of his entire life. Thomas clearly falls into that second group. He also questioned Meghan's public image, saying the warm and relatable personality she presents in interviews feels very calculated to him. Thomas even described Meghan as someone who always needs to control the narrative and keep the spotlight on herself.
It's really a little bit disturbing, saying that, she doesn't have a family, she doesn't have a father, and then Harry saying that she has no father now. That's just ridiculous.
Meghan Markle is always attempting to, shall we say, build relationships with very, very, very rich men.
I think she's taking advantage of a very weakened man and getting him to say things that you just shouldn't be saying on television. August 4th, 40 years ago, Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section, so she was put in my arm. I was the first person to hold her. Her little hand went around my fingers like that, and I fell in love with her, and I've been that way for 40 years.
Okay. Am I there?
I really do miss her.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
At one point, he suggested she behaves like the central character in every situation, someone who allegedly struggles to accept criticism or take accountability when things go sideways. These are accusations coming from a complicated family relationship. Sure, but they've definitely added a fresh layer to the ongoing conversation surrounding Meghan's image in the media. Thomas pushed back hard against the story many people heard during Meghan's rise to global fame, the idea of her overcoming major struggles completely on her own. According to him, that version of events conveniently leaves out important details about the support and opportunities she had growing up. And this is where things get even more intense. Thomas suggested that Meghan spent years carefully reshaping how the public sees her past, while simultaneously building a larger-than-life image around herself. He even implied that Meghan admired Princess Diana's legacy so deeply that she may have wanted to recreate that same level of global admiration and influence for herself. That comparison alone set the internet on fire because Princess Diana's image still carries enormous emotional weight around the world, even decades later. Some viewers saw Thomas's comments as brutally harsh. Others believed he was simply saying out loud what critics have quietly speculated about for years.
And I want it to be known worldwide, that the man who did everything for her and she threw away like a piece of dog shit stuck to the bottom of her shoe. Meghan, you should be ashamed of yourself to show your face in public. I hope people look at you and point from now on. That's that soulless evil. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, I'm so sorry. Allegedly, in my opinion.
Do you still love your daughter?
Of course I do. I love my children. I love my other daughter. I love my son. Of course I love.
Either way, one thing is clear: the Markle family drama is still nowhere near over. Thomas also claimed that Meghan's reported obsession with royal status eventually turned into straight-up rivalry, especially when it came to Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to Thomas, Meghan allegedly struggled with constantly being compared to Catherine, one of the most respected and admired figures in the royal family. He described Meghan as someone who wanted that same level of admiration and influence, but grew frustrated whenever public attention leaned more toward Catherine instead. That's his interpretation, but it's a topic royal watchers have been debating for years, especially after tensions inside the palace reportedly reached a breaking point. Thomas also argued that Meghan often places herself at the center of every conflict, claiming she creates emotionally charged situations and then positions herself as the one being unfairly targeted. He painted a picture of ongoing drama where blame constantly shifts toward everyone else, while Meghan remains the misunderstood figure in her own story. These are allegations from a family member with a very strained relationship, but his comments definitely reignited the online conversation surrounding the couple's royal exit. Then Thomas took things even further when discussing Prince Harry. According to him, Harry's entire public identity changed after marrying Meghan. He claimed Meghan carefully manages their appearances, interviews, and public image to make sure attention stays heavily focused on her.
Do you think your sister, Meghan Markle, has ruined Prince Harry?
The answer is yes. I mean, every single interview, every single picture, every place they go, Meghan grabs him. Meghan controls him. Meghan tells him no. Meghan stands in front of him. She controls every single situation like she is the star. And she's turned Prince Harry into a man of non-substance, for her own well. You believe Meghan is driving this whole caravan for him. He is so stressed out. You can see it in his face. Despair. He's confused. He thinks he's going to get in trouble if he doesn't say exactly what Meghan says. Very sad.
I mean, it's incredibly hurtful. I also have always had sympathy with your father because I felt that he was thrown to the wolves. He tried to do the right thing. He came unstuck. And they just
Thomas described it less like a natural partnership and more like a highly controlled public brand built around strategic storytelling and image management. He even suggested Harry sometimes appears more like a supporting character than the confident royal the world once knew. Back in the 2000s, Harry was seen as the rebellious but lovable prince, someone who connected easily with crowds and carried a relaxed, genuine energy. But Thomas claims that version of Harry slowly faded after the couple relocated to California and started building their media projects and public ventures far away from royal life. What really intensified the discussion was that Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, reportedly made strikingly similar comments in past interviews. He also expressed deep concern about how much Harry appeared to change over time. In his view, Harry no longer carried the same independence or energy he once had during his earlier royal years. Those remarks triggered strong reactions online because critics and supporters of the couple interpreted them in completely opposite ways. Thomas Jr. also argued that Meghan had opportunities most people could only dream about: royal connections, worldwide recognition, influence, and global attention handed to her on a silver platter.
Your family, you should be so thankful this woman wanted to leave because she's not going to bring any good to the branding of royal. She's going to downgrade it to a level of ghetto, and that's what it is. This is just bad.
She doesn't know us. It's just very bizarre how how she just basically brushed the entire family under the carpet like we don't exist, and then lied about not having a family and lied about she doesn't have a family that she's always wanted. You know, we've always been here.
Like any proud parent, his home is littered with photos of his beloved children.
For the longest time, she wanted to be a dancer.
Each image is a heartbreaking reminder of happier times.
But instead of fully embracing royal traditions, he believes she chose conflict over compromise and slowly pulled Harry away from long-time family relationships and royal responsibilities. At the same time, Thomas admitted the situation feels deeply confusing to him because he remembers a very different version of Meghan from years ago. He brought up old family moments again, claiming she once appeared far more grounded and genuinely close with relatives before everything changed. According to him, fame, pressure, and royal attention may have transformed those family dynamics beyond any point of repair. Then came one of his biggest claims yet. Thomas alleged that tensions between Meghan and Queen Elizabeth II became far more serious behind palace walls than the public ever realized. He hinted at reported disagreements and uncomfortable confrontations during the couple's final period in the UK. In his opinion, those private royal tensions played a much bigger role in Harry and Meghan's departure from Britain than any of the public explanations ever let on. According to Thomas, the issues inside the Markle family didn't suddenly appear after the royal wedding tension had been quietly building for years, long before the royal spotlight ever entered the picture. He claimed Meghan gradually developed a pattern of distancing herself from people once they no longer matched the image she wanted to project publicly. Thomas also pointed to comments made by Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister, who has spoken out multiple times about how dramatically different their relationship used to be. Samantha claimed there was once real communication and genuine family connection between them before Meghan's fame dramatically changed everything. But according to Samantha,
actually, it was because of Meghan that it was taken away. Meghan could have had her there if she wanted to have it there. Instead, she wanted to have a bunch of celebrities she barely knew, from the Clooneys to the Beckhams to Elton John to James Gordon to Timbuktu. I mean, it looked like anyone she'd met on the party circuit in the previous 2 years got the invite. I knew Meghan for a bit before she met Harry. Did exactly the same to me. You know, she did that to many people that she knew, that she'd either worked with or was friends with or whatever. It just seems to me she's what I would call a ruthless social climber, who just when people are no longer appropriate parts of her circle, they have to be expunged quickly so she can move on up the ladder.
What do you think's the biggest mistake that Harry and Meghan have made?
Leaving the royals, because that was what she married into. That was explained to her. The people of England loved her and loved Harry, and I mean, they were the stars. Everybody loved them.
And I think it was a desperate plea because they've made their bed for the last 6 years, and now they're sleeping on them, and the entire world knows exactly what's happening with those two.
once Meghan's career and public profile exploded, that relationship allegedly faded into complete silence. The Markle family has repeatedly argued that their father, Thomas Markle Sr., played a major role in helping Meghan build early opportunities in life. Samantha especially has claimed that their father supported Meghan both emotionally and financially during critical years of her education and acting career. In the family's view, those contributions were eventually brushed aside once Meghan stepped into the global spotlight. Meghan herself has never fully agreed with those claims publicly, and over the years, both sides have presented very different versions of the same story. But Thomas Jr. insists the biggest pain for the family has nothing to do with fame or money. It's the feeling of being completely erased from Meghan's story. According to him, their entire side of the family was slowly written out of the narrative once royal life entered the picture. Thomas claimed he tried reaching out multiple times over the years, hoping to reconnect, but says those efforts allegedly led nowhere. The silence felt cold and emotionally exhausting, especially when he remembers how close things once were. In his eyes, this wasn't just natural distance growing over time, it felt deliberate. He also accused Meghan and Harry of crafting a public image that conveniently leaves out the uncomfortable parts of their family history. Thomas believes anyone who doesn't fit the polished narrative eventually gets pushed aside without a second thought. These are personal allegations from estranged relatives, not proven facts, but they keep attracting attention because this family divide has remained unresolved for years. One moment Thomas still clearly feels raw about is the 2018 royal wedding. He said the Markle side of the family expected it to be a once-in-a-lifetime celebration where both sides would finally come together. Instead, according to him, they were left completely on the outside.
Have any advice for Harry?
Yeah, stop talking about the royals. Stop giving away all the secrets about the royals. And, love your children and love your wife. But also love your grandmother and love your father. Well, that's her first wedding in Jamaica. That's one of my favorite pictures. I'd like to have that experience with my granddaughter.
If you could get just one message across to your daughter now, what would it be?
As always, I do love you, and I wish we could sit down and talk about it. I'm not an ogre. I'd love to talk to her.
No real conversations, no efforts to reconnect, and no invitations extended to most family members. Thomas says that experience permanently damaged whatever relationships still remained, and he now admits he no longer believes reconciliation with Meghan will ever happen. In his opinion, the sister he once knew before worldwide fame and royal attention took over is completely gone, replaced by someone laser-focused on image, influence, and public perception. But perhaps the most dramatic part of Thomas Jr.'s comments came when he shifted to talking about Prince Harry's future. He warned that the same distance Meghan allegedly created with her own family could eventually reach into Harry's world too. Thomas suggested Meghan's connection to Harry has always been strongly tied to his royal identity and global status, rather than simply being about romance alone. That claim instantly triggered heavy reactions online. Critics viewed it as a brutal prediction about the future of their relationship, while supporters argued Thomas was simply recycling old grievances for public attention. Either way, even years after the royal exit, the Markle family fallout keeps generating headlines and heated debate across social media. Thomas says one of the hardest parts of this entire situation is comparing the Meghan people see today with the person he remembers from years ago.
Now, like I said, Meghan did it to me, and now Harry's doing it to his father. That's a cold thing to do, and it's even more cold to do it to the Queen, who's in her 90s. None of this makes sense. My congratulations to Meghan and to Harry.
Harry and Meghan say they plan to call her Lily.
Lily is a perfect name. And the other thing that makes me happy is there's now about a lot more Markle blood in the royal.
He keeps returning to old family recordings and memories that allegedly showed a completely different atmosphere inside the Markle household. According to him, Meghan once appeared relaxed, genuinely close with relatives, and naturally happy during simple family moments, long before royal fame ever entered the picture. Thomas believes those older memories make the current family divide even more shocking. In his eyes, the contrast feels almost impossible to wrap his head around. He claims the warm and grounded version of Meghan from those past moments no longer exists, replaced by someone now heavily focused on image management above everything else. He also made another bold prediction regarding Meghan's relationship with her father. Thomas said that if Meghan ever reconnects publicly with Thomas Markle Sr., he personally believes it would happen mainly for image reasons, not out of genuine reconciliation. According to him, any future reunion could end up looking more like a carefully staged media moment than a real private healing process. That's entirely his personal opinion, and there's no proof of what Meghan may or may not choose to do. But his comments immediately stirred fresh debate online, because public curiosity around the Markle family fallout has never truly disappeared. Years later, people are still asking the same question: will Meghan and her father ever truly reconnect? But then Thomas moved into far more controversial territory.
She's already gotten the benefit of her bargain with Harry because she got the title. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be world famous. She wanted the title. You remember when Harry was single, he was the elephant. He was the one, the most eligible bachelor on earth. You could be a royal. You could become world famous overnight. You could live in a castle. You could have access to the crown jewels. You would be a princess. My God, yes, he could have had his pick.
How can she sit there saying, I so love my family, my family love me, and ruthlessly cut you, Tom Sr. and Samantha out of her life?
During interviews, he questioned parts of Meghan and Harry's private family life and suggested the ongoing tensions now involve both sides of the family being completely shut out emotionally. Some of his comments touching on the couple's children sparked immediate backlash online, with many viewers feeling strongly that those topics should remain private and off-limits. Despite the reaction, Thomas repeatedly framed the entire situation as part of a much larger family breakdown rather than any single isolated argument. He argued that the couple now lives very separately from both royal relatives and Markle family members, creating what he described as a deeply isolated environment around their household. Meanwhile, Thomas Markle Sr. has also continued expressing sadness over how distant things became. Unlike Thomas Jr., the father's comments tend to sound less focused on blame and far more focused on regret. Over the years, Thomas Sr. has openly admitted he made mistakes during the intense media storm leading up to the 2018 royal wedding. He acknowledged that certain decisions damaged trust and contributed to the growing separation, but still, he says, the emotional distance has been incredibly painful. According to Thomas Sr., the hardest part is missing important family milestones and feeling disconnected from his grandchildren's lives. He described the silence between the families as emotionally heavy, especially considering how close everything once seemed before the royal relationship changed the entire picture. Thomas Sr.
Meghan Markle really did expect Harry to be a billionaire when she met him. She was incredibly disappointed to find out he's only worth a couple million, and she's gonna have to actually work and hawk these jams and jellies and dog biscuits to have the lifestyle that she...
I mean, that moment when Prince Harry, who's never met your father, says that Meghan has no father. What did you think of that?
I think it's horrible. The documentary is so far off on so many different levels.
Has repeatedly said he never expected things to end up this way. What hurts most, in his words, is feeling completely removed from a daughter he once supported through childhood, school, and the early days of her acting career. While critics online argue that both sides contributed to the fallout, Thomas Sr. continues presenting himself as a father simply hoping for some kind of peace. And honestly, that's where this entire story gets deeply complicated. Meghan and Harry have spent years publicly championing healing, compassion, mental health, and breaking away from toxic environments. But from the Markle family's perspective, those same values were never extended back in their direction. Whether people side with the Markles or strongly support Meghan and Harry, one thing is undeniable. This family divide still hasn't healed. Even here in 2026, Thomas Markle has made one thing consistently clear. Despite everything that played out publicly, he says he never stopped loving Meghan. No matter how messy the fallout became, he still speaks about her as his daughter first, before anything else. And honestly, some of his interviews feel less like celebrity drama and more like a father genuinely struggling to understand how everything collapsed so completely.
Just say I'm hoping it doesn't go on forever. Right now I'm talking to Meghan and Harry. I love you guys. We can work out the problems. I don't think there's any problems that can't be worked out. And I've said I'm sorry about the initial problem. If I've said anything today that offended anyone, I'm sorry about that too. But I'm just telling the truth and how I feel about what's going on. If I had done something terribly wrong, that would be fine, but I haven't. So I just want an answer. I don't like to say it, but I gotta say it. I don't know of anybody that cold to do this. I'll be very disappointed that I don't get to hold my granddaughter.
Does it hurt?
Of course it hurts. There are axe murderers in prison. Their family comes to see them, right? I mean, I'm not an axe murderer.
One moment that especially stayed with viewers happened when Thomas was asked whether he believes Meghan still loves him. Instead of getting angry or defensive, he reportedly paused and admitted he honestly didn't know anymore. That moment of raw uncertainty hit harder than any dramatic accusation ever could. According to him, the years of silence became far more difficult to process than any public criticism thrown his way. Thomas has also spoken emotionally about the last time he heard Meghan's voice directly. He claimed their final real conversation happened shortly before the 2018 royal wedding while he was dealing with serious health problems in the hospital. At the time, many people expected the situation would eventually settle and lead to some form of reconciliation. Instead, according to Thomas, communication stopped completely afterward. Since then, Thomas Markle Sr. has faced multiple serious health struggles, including heart complications and a stroke that affected both his speech and mobility for a significant period of time. Through all of those incredibly difficult moments, he says he never received a single personal message or phone call from Meghan.
Made one dumb mistake, and I'm never being forgiven for it. And this show that they're on, they talk about compassion. There's no compassion for me. There's no compassion for my family. And there's no compassion for the royal.
Part of you tempted to just drive up to California, turn up on their doorstep and knock on the door?
I'd never do that. That makes me a stalker. I'm not a stalker. She knows where I live. Harry's invited to come down anytime he wants by himself, or Meghan's invited to come down anytime she wants by herself or with Harry. I would love that. Father's Day is coming up. That really hurts when Father's Day.
Whether people place the blame on Thomas or sympathize with him, there's no denying the emotional weight those interviews carry in the ongoing conversation surrounding this family divide. What surprises many viewers, though, is that Thomas often sounds more heartbroken than bitter. He repeatedly says that if there were any realistic path toward repairing the relationship, he would still be open to walking it. According to him, he never wanted years of public conflict and relentless media attention to become the permanent ending to their story. Another moment that caught attention came when Thomas discussed King Charles stepping in during Meghan's wedding ceremony. Rather than expressing bitterness, Thomas actually said he appreciated that someone was there to support Meghan when his health physically prevented him from attending. He admitted missing that moment was deeply painful, but said he holds no resentment toward King Charles personally. Through it all, Thomas has continued insisting he is not chasing revenge, fame, or media attention despite regularly speaking out in interviews. He claims his main goal has always been simple: reconnecting privately with his daughter and clearing up what he feels are serious misunderstandings surrounding his public image. Critics, however, argue that repeated interviews only made tensions worse and pushed any chance of reconciliation even further away.
You see similarities in the way Harry has treated Charles and the way Meghan has treated you?
Yes, I see them both ghosting their families completely. Now basically now they're alone in a huge house that they could probably accommodate 20 people in, and it's just the four of them.
There's some irony to the fact that Harry and Meghan are now living just a few hours up the road from you.
Right.
Yet they might as well be on a different planet in terms of the amount of contact that you're all having.
Exactly. I'm not a tearful type, but I keep everything in here. I don't really let it out but I'm certainly hurt by a lot of it.
One detail that makes the situation feel especially uncomfortable is how physically close yet emotionally distant the family reportedly remains. Thomas has mentioned living relatively near Meghan and Harry's California home, but says he would never show up unexpectedly or attempt to force any kind of contact. According to him, he still respects Meghan's boundaries, even while feeling completely cut off from her life, and honestly, that part seems to hit people the hardest. A father living just miles away, yet missing birthdays, milestones, and everyday family moments entirely. Thomas also appeared genuinely reflective when conversations turned toward Meghan's past comments about mental health struggles and the pressure of public life. Rather than dismissing those experiences, he admitted he sometimes wonders whether his own actions during the intense media frenzy before the wedding may have added stress to an already overwhelming situation. Thomas Markle Sr. has never completely sidestepped responsibility when discussing the fallout either. In several interviews over the years, he acknowledged there's a real chance his actions before the royal wedding contributed pressure to an already difficult time. But at the same time, he insists he was never impossible to reach. According to him,
Meghan's been very open about her mental health struggle.
Yes.
Do you consider yourself partly to blame for her suffering?
Maybe to some percentage, but I was there at any time. She could have picked the phone and called me at any time. She has my phone number. So
getting any younger. Do you worry that you might never meet these two grandchildren?
July 18th, I'll be 77 years old. Most of the Markle men don't make it much past 80. So there's a good chance I might never see my grandchildren. I'm not looking for pity. I'm just saying that's a reality.
No matter how complicated things became, Meghan always had the option to call him privately if she ever wanted to reconnect or clear the air. At the center of everything Thomas says now is one powerful idea: forgiveness. He still believes the relationship could be repaired with even just one honest conversation between them. In his view, no family disagreement is truly beyond fixing when both sides are willing to sit down and talk openly. But what makes his interviews feel especially emotional in 2026 is the awareness that time keeps moving, and opportunities for reconciliation may not stay open forever. Thomas has spoken openly about his health declining in recent years, and that reality gives every interview an added layer of urgency that's hard to ignore. After major health scares and long recovery periods, Thomas admitted he sometimes worries he may never get the chance to personally know his grandchildren. According to him, that possibility hurts more than any headline or public criticism ever could. He says the thought of remaining a stranger to them is something he carries with him every single day, and no amount of time seems to make that feeling any easier to live with. What stands out most is that Thomas rarely talks about wealth, status, or public attention anymore. Instead, his comments keep circling back to the simplest things: family dinners, everyday conversations, holidays, and ordinary moments most people take completely for granted. He claims he would walk away from every camera and interview tomorrow if it meant having even a small amount of genuine peace with his daughter again. And honestly, hearing a father say that with such raw sincerity makes it incredibly difficult to just brush his words aside. Then there are those old family recordings Thomas Jr. keeps bringing up, the home videos that allegedly show Meghan during a completely different chapter of her life. Those memories seem to hit the Markle family especially hard because they paint a much warmer and more connected picture than the cold and distant public fallout people see today. One story Thomas recalled involved a young Meghan proudly spotting her father at a school event and excitedly showing off an award she had just won. According to him, those moments felt completely genuine, unscripted, and full of real family warmth. No cameras, no public image, no carefully managed narrative, just a family sharing a real moment together. And that contrast is exactly what makes this entire situation feel so deeply complicated.
Have you sort of given up hope of a reconciliation with Harry and Meghan?
I'll never give up hope. I'll stay in the game. I mean, like I said, if I'm called or visited, they're welcome anytime they want to come down. I'm here.
Do you think she still loves you?
I have no idea. I don't, like I said, I haven't spoken to her since I was laying in a hospital bed 2 days before they got married. That's the last conversation we had. That was it. I haven't spoken to him.
Because the family being described in those old recordings sounds nothing like the fractured and painfully distant relationships being discussed in interviews today. Somewhere between those warm school events and the global royal spotlight, something shifted, and the Markle family believes that shift changed everything permanently. Most people agree Thomas Markle Sr. made serious mistakes during the chaotic media build-up before the 2018 royal wedding. Even Thomas himself has admitted that openly and repeatedly. The staged photographs, the missed attendance, the media interviews that followed, none of it played out the way anyone would have hoped. But others strongly question whether one painful and chaotic period should be enough to permanently erase decades of family history, emotional support, and genuine connection. That debate alone has kept this story alive for years, and it shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. Thomas Jr. added another layer to this when he revisited his claims about Meghan's personality and public image. According to him, the carefully polished version of Meghan that the world sees in interviews and public appearances is a far cry from the person the Markle family feels they once knew. He described someone who allegedly became increasingly focused on controlling every part of her public narrative, deciding who fits into her story and who quietly gets left behind. In his words, Anyone who no longer matches the image she wants to project eventually gets pushed out, no matter how long or deep the history between them runs. That claim ties directly into what both Thomas Jr. and Samantha Markle have been saying for years. Samantha, Meghan's half-sister, has spoken out multiple times about how dramatically the relationship between them changed once Meghan's career and public profile began growing. According to Samantha, there was once real communication and genuine family connection before fame quietly replaced it with complete silence. She has also strongly backed the family's position that their father played a significant and meaningful role in supporting Meghan emotionally and financially during critical years of her education and early acting career. In the family's view, those contributions were eventually overlooked once the global spotlight took over completely. And then there's the royal rivalry angle that Thomas Jr. brought up, the tension he claimed existed between Meghan and Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to Thomas, Meghan allegedly struggled with constantly being compared to Catherine, who remained one of the most respected and admired figures in the royal family throughout years of intense media pressure. He described a frustration building behind the scenes, a desire for the same level of admiration and influence, combined with growing tension whenever public attention naturally leaned toward Catherine instead. Whether that claim is accurate or simply the interpretation of an estranged family member, it sparked enormous debate online the moment it surfaced. What also continues to generate strong reactions is Thomas Jr.'s repeated suggestion that Prince Harry himself became a completely different person after the couple's move to California. Back in the early 2000s, Harry was widely seen as the rebellious but genuinely lovable prince, someone who connected easily with everyday people and carried a relaxed and authentic public energy. Thomas claims that version of Harry slowly disappeared after the couple stepped away from royal duties in 2020 and began building their media projects and public ventures far from royal life. He described Harry as now appearing drained, disconnected, and far removed from the confident royal image the world once recognized. And from Thomas's perspective, that transformation didn't happen by accident. He painted a picture of a highly controlled public brand, carefully managed appearances, strategically chosen interviews, and a narrative built almost entirely around image and storytelling. Thomas described it less like a natural and equal partnership and more like a situation where Harry gradually shifted from confident royal to supporting character in someone else's carefully written story. Those are strong and deeply personal allegations, but they immediately struck a nerve online because so many people had already been asking similar questions for years. Then there's the emotional weight of what Thomas Markle Sr. has shared about simply missing out on life. He has spoken openly about sitting with the painful reality of health struggles, recovery periods, and the quiet fear that time is running out. The strokes, the heart complications, the long periods of difficult recovery, all of it happening while feeling completely disconnected from a daughter he once walked through some of the most important years of her life. According to Thomas, the hardest part isn't the public criticism or the media headlines. It's knowing that somewhere out there, his grandchildren are growing up, reaching milestones, celebrating birthdays, and living full lives while he remains a complete stranger to all of it. He described the silence between the families as something that carries a particular kind of emotional heaviness that is almost impossible to fully explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. Because it's not just distance, it's the awareness of everything being missed in real time. Every holiday, every school moment, every ordinary Tuesday that families share without even thinking about it. Thomas says those are the moments that hurt the most, not the big dramatic headlines, but the quiet, invisible ones that nobody ever talks about publicly. What makes Thomas Sr.'s interviews stand out compared to other celebrity family drama is that he rarely sounds like someone chasing revenge or public sympathy. He sounds like someone genuinely struggling to process how something so important collapsed so completely. He has repeatedly said that if Meghan ever reached out privately, no cameras, no media involvement, no public statements, he would respond without hesitation. According to him, he never wanted years of interviews and public fallout to become the permanent ending to their story. But with each passing year, that ending feels increasingly difficult to avoid. Some viewers watching this situation unfold over the years have found themselves shifting perspectives multiple times. Early on, many people were quick to place full blame on Thomas for the staged photograph situation before the wedding. But as years passed, more interviews surfaced, more family members spoke out, and more details emerged, and the picture became significantly more complicated than a simple villain and victim story. Real family situations rarely fit neatly into those boxes, and this one is no different. At the same time, many viewers strongly defend Meghan and Harry's right to create firm and clear boundaries around their private lives, especially after years of relentless media pressure, intense public scrutiny, and the very real mental health struggles Meghan has spoken about openly. Supporters argue that nobody truly knows what happened behind closed doors, and that protecting personal peace sometimes means making painful decisions that look harsh from the outside. Critics, on the other hand, feel the complete family separation went further than it ever needed to, and that the public championing of healing and compassion should have extended closer to home as well. The tension between those two perspectives is exactly why this story refuses to quietly disappear. It touches something deeply universal: the complicated dynamics of family, the collision of personal ambition with private relationships, and the painful question of whether some bridges, once burned, can ever truly be rebuilt. People aren't just debating Meghan and Harry or the Markle family specifically. They're debating ideas and experiences that feel personally familiar to so many of them. And that's why, even here in 2026, years after the royal exit, years after the Bombshell interviews, years after the headlines that shocked the world, this conversation is still very much alive. The Markle family divide remains one of the most talked about and emotionally charged celebrity family situations of the entire modern royal era. New comments surface, old wounds reopen, and the debate rages on across social media, comment sections, and dinner tables around the world. So now the question lands directly with you. Do you think Meghan made the right call by distancing herself from family members she felt brought negativity and chaos into her life? Or do you think this situation spiraled way further than it ever needed to, leaving real people on both sides carrying pain that didn't have to last this long? Do you believe reconciliation between Meghan and her father is still possible, or has too much time, too many interviews, and too much public damage already made that impossible? There are passionate and deeply held opinions on every side of this story, and honestly, that's exactly what makes it one of the most compelling and emotionally complicated celebrity family situations of our time. The layers keep revealing themselves, the perspectives keep shifting, and the debate shows absolutely no sign of ending anytime soon. If you made it this far, you already know this story runs much deeper than surface-level royal gossip, and there is plenty more where this came from. Hit that like button if this breakdown gave you something to think about. Share it with someone who follows the royal drama closely, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss another deep dive like this one. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Seriously, this is one of those topics where the comment section goes absolutely wild, and your perspective genuinely adds to the conversation. The next video is already waiting on your screen right now, and trust me, it dives into another situation that is going to have you completely hooked from the very first second. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.